Welcome everyone to another theory video on Mass Ninja's webpage. I'm Insomniak. As always, we have Mass Ninja here.
What up, guys?
So today, what we'd like to talk about is the impending NX system, as codename, for the new Nintendo's console release. I'd like to share my personal theory and thoughts on the matter, see if anyone else decides to ping or really connect with it. It seems that Mass Ninja here decided that it was a really good idea and a really good theory. It's up to your interpretation. What do you think?
Well, listen, man, I think you're onto something, my friend. On the grounds that the way you describe it and the way Nintendo works, it makes logical sense.
Well, so here's the beginning of my personal theory. As a big Nintendo fan, and have been all my life, ever since I was a kid, really love Nintendo. It's my favorite console, always grown up. I was able to beat any video game before I could really do much of anything else. And so with that, always came the ability to understand what Nintendo's next move was. And it's not really different with the NX that's coming out. What my theory is based on basically, and not to be laughed at, the number 4. The reason why I'm basing the NX off of the number 4 in itself is because of how many little Easter eggs that Nintendo's kind of dropped, or just basically had readily available for the new NX system. For instance, most people believe that the very first console for Nintendo was the Nintendo Home Entertainment System, or the NES.
This is true.
Was released in 1983 in Japan. However, there actually is a console that predates the NES. It's called the Color TV Game 6, released in the year of 1977. Most people believe that Nintendo has 33 years of experience for home console units under their belt. Well, the truth is, they really have 40 because of the Color TV Game 6. They've planned a release date in March, hopefully at least, for the NX system. That means that March 2017 would be the new console. That's exactly 40 years since the Color TV Game 6. 4. When I was thinking about the NX system, most people, as of late, have been having a real problem with Nintendo. In general, the fact that the Wii U didn't really sell very well, or it didn't really click with the players. Its sales weren't exactly what they were hoping for. Well, the reason why its sales weren't exactly what they were hoping for is just, in my opinion, I think people have gotten comfortable with Nintendo's release system. See, I've noticed that the NES and then the SNES are kind of a set that go together. Realistically, the Super Nintendo was just a hyped up, revamped, awesome, cooler version of the NES. Not going to deny the over 800 games library for the NES. Not saying it's not a great system. But all they really did with the Super Nintendo was vamp it up. Try to make it cooler. Still 2 controllers, still home console unit, square design. They kind of just went with the same thing but made it better. But then they kind of went in a whole different direction when they decided to do the Nintendo 64. Quite possibly and argumentatively, my favorite of the consoles.
Emphasis the t-shirt, guys.
Reason being is that the Nintendo 64 has so many different games that were not only really reaching gamers on a level that they really enjoyed playing, but it succeeded as a home console unit because it was every game that everyone wanted to play in an arcade at home, which was a lot like what the Super Nintendo did. However, the Nintendo 64, when it was released, it had 4 controllers. You could extend the controllers, extra extensions, Game Sharks, more accessories. They went off in a little bit different of a direction, different than that of the Nintendo or the Super Nintendo. When GameCube came about, it was really cool that it came out. They had the Wavebird. Wavebird was probably one of the coolest video game accessories of all time. Wireless controller. Everyone was so stoked. I still remember the whole commercial with the kid standing outside playing from his wavebird. Yeah, it was pretty tight. But realistically, yeah.
Especially the waveboard actually used radio waves instead of was actually the way it connected. That's kind of fun fact.
What was really cool is, I mean, thinking about it, all they really did was make the 64 cooler. It still had 4 controllers on it. It was still, you know, reaching for really great titles to keep at home for a home system. They were trying to do accessories vis-a-vis the whole, you know, Game Boy game player attachment and stuff like that. They just really wanted to do something like the 64, just more futuristic looking. They had discs, they had wavebirds, stuff like that. But in a way, the NES, SNES were kind of set. The 64 and the GameCube were kind of set. By the time the Wii came out, it was a whole revamped idea, just like the 64 revamped things. And by the time Wii came out, everyone was really stoked. Wii's numbers were through the roof. We would like to play, like the
We like to play.
That's right. See, the commercial was really cool. The game system was top notch. Everyone was really stoked about this thing. Well, when you really boil it down, the Wii U itself was just a revamped, mastered, cooler version of the Wii. So I see them doing consoles in sets of 2. The system and the mastered version. So by the time we have the NES and the SNES, then we have the 64 and the GameCube, then we have the Wii and the Wii. It's 3 sets so far. We get to the 4th set, which is the NX, coding as such. It's the first system in the set, which boils right back down to 4, just like the 40 years of experience that they have making home console units. So you have 40 years, you have the 4th set of consoles. I looked into it just a little bit further to see what else could be going on. One thing that I noticed, beer break.
Go drink beer. Beer is good! Beer is good! Beer is good! It's up!
Who's round with it? Yours! What, again? Okay. Can someone lend me a $5?
Beer break was good. So, continuing with my theory of Nintendo and 4 and how it all ties into the NX, as I was saying, the 40 years of experience they have as a home console unit maker and the 4th set of systems that they're making, when I looked a little bit deeper into it, I decided to look at release dates for the systems and look into how quickly they released them after the last console or how late they released them. Well, one thing that's kind of a red flag to people is when you take not enough time to develop your console and you release it. So why this is a red flag for me is that the Wii U, with its release, would only be 4 years and 4 months before the release of the NX, which is the shortest amount of time they've ever taken to release a console for Nintendo. And the longest amount of time being between the Wii and the Wii U at almost on the dot 6 years. One would think that when they have the most amount of time to develop a console, that it would sell really well. But the Wii U sales didn't really reflect that. Well, the shortest amount of time that they took between systems, discarding the whole Color TV Game 6, was about 5 years on the dot. So 4 years and 4 months is kind of a little bit of a red flag to most people. People thinking the Xbox One S, the new Scorpio, Project Scorpio coming out, PlayStation 4, and whatever PlayStation's going to decide to do next with Sony, they would think that this is all bad news. And I'm sure a lot of people are jumping ship on Nintendo because of that. I'm not really, however, because once again, 4 years and 4 months later, they're releasing the NX. So again, everything's tying back into 4. As we all know, in July last year, the president of Nintendo himself, CEO, the chairman, Mr. Satoru Iwata, passed away. Hands down, one of the greatest people ever to come into contact with life in itself.
That's how it sounds for lost.
This is Satoru Iwata from Nintendo.
Well, Mr. Iwata was not only one of the greatest CEOs, period, in history, but he was there for a really long time overseeing Nintendo's video game development stages, ever since they decided to get into video game making in the first place. Well, what I found really intense about the entire situation is that Satoru Iwata was the fourth president and CEO of the Nintendo company. So when you think about it, everything's kind of coming back to 4. Am I really saying that Nintendo's going to have 4 somewhere in the title of the system, like the Nintendo 4 or something? I'm not really going off on that. What I'm really trying to say here, as a real Nintendo fan, is that Nintendo in itself, with all these little hints being dropped, and if you really connect the dots and do the research yourself, you can really see that there's something going on here. They've said time and time again that they want to show gamers something completely new, something that hasn't really been done before, which is what they did with the Wii, which is what they've always done. And it's really cool to see them doing it once again. When the Wii came out, it was amazing for them to go in a whole new direction. And for some, it was really not connecting with the Wii U. They thought that their new direction wasn't really what they wanted. I just think they got comfortable with the fact that Wii U was too much like the Wii, and that they were more comfortable with the Wii than they were with the Wii U. That's why sales reflected poorly. With the NX coming out, Nintendo's promised to do something completely new. Not only have they promised that, but head developer Miyamoto has stated that he has the release set for March of 2017 for the new console, for the NX. Well, with that being so close, most people would think that it would be an E3. And more flags were raised because the NX was not an E3. And everyone was kind of lacking on it. They were really upset about it. I personally think it's a good idea. A lot of speculation is going down that they're going to reveal more about the NX at the Tokyo Game Show. September 15th to 18th, I believe, is the dates for the Tokyo Game Show. You can probably find more details about what's actually going to happen with the NX at that time. Maybe not. I don't know. It's just speculation. It very well could be possible because, in a way, it's their last chance for a large-scale marketing strategy before the release of the console itself. So it wouldn't really surprise me if they decided to do it at TGS. If they don't, however, it's not really going to surprise me because Nintendo's always had a problem with other video game developers stealing their ideas. Every time they come up with a cool idea, another system decides they want to try to take it and release it first. Whether it's better or not doesn't matter. They just want to be the first one to have it.
Like, for example, the motion control systems.
Yeah, PlayStation Eye and stuff like that, for example. And I'm sure there's probably going to be some people out there getting really upset at me that I'm bashing the fact that PlayStation and Microsoft and everybody out there is stealing ideas. They're cool. No, okay, get it fucking straight. Alright? Everyone steals ideas, man. They all do. And everyone's going to take from Nintendo because they're the greatest at what they do. And I think they're going to try to bounce back with this one. I really do. Because not only does everything point back to 4 and some weird kind of, otherworldly dimension, kind of Twilight Zone shit going on and everything point back to 4, but at least we have to take into consideration the fact that they're ballsy enough to release a console, home console unit, quicker than they ever have before. Why? If they're going to release it that quickly, one could only stand to think that a corporation as huge and vastly, immensely powerful and rich as Nintendo would have something up their sleeve to be able to back and move like that. Not only back and move like that, they're going to be out quicker than Project Scorpio, they're going to be out quicker than whatever PlayStation is going to do next.
Oh, it's probably going to be like the PlayStation 5 or something.
Yeah, so original.
Hey, at least they kept it constant. It's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At least Xbox, Xbox 360, Xbox One, so they went back to 1. And Nintendo is Nintendo.
They can do whatever they want.
Alright, Philippines.
They're not Nintendo, they are Nintendo.
You know what? You should just leave love to heaven. That's how. So really, in kind of conclusion here, whether they go back to cartridges or not, by the way, is, I hope they do. I kind of really do. I just get so damaged so quickly. Yada yada yada. This, that, the other thing. The real thing that I was trying to get at before I was completely interrupted by the whole thing is that this is the first home console unit to be released since the passing of President Iwata, and I really think that they're gonna do something for him, because they had already on games, for him, dedicated to him, but they haven't done it with a console yet, and this is their first chance to do it. So they now have the ability to dedicate a console directly to the memory, one of the greatest figures they've ever had influence them in the first place. So personally, I think whatever's coming with the NX, should we learn about it at TGS or not until March or maybe even later, I don't know. But whatever is coming, as a Nintendo fan, I can only hope to think that it's going to be really quite spectacular. I hope, at least. Especially with Breath of the Wild being held back so that it's released on the NX at the same time as the Wii U. I just want something that'll make me want to. I already have the Wii U. If I'm going to go get the NX, which either way I'm going to go get the NX or whatever it's going to be called, but I really want it to be a step up. I want it to be something more. And if it can be, I want it to just wow and dazzle. Something that hasn't been done the same before. Microsoft's been, focused on its multiplayer. PlayStation's been mostly focused on, titles, just like Nintendo has. They're kind of focusing on titles. But Nintendo also prides themselves on going in a whole nother direction. Just total 180. And if I could see something like that, it'd be really cool. I'd really enjoy seeing it. If they do make it to where it's a completely versatile, where you take it and mob with it, free-range console that connects at home so that you can have home console too, that's fine with me, do it right. But I just personally want to see it. And I want to see my theory come true, because I've pretty much always been right about what Nintendo's going to pretty much do next. I mean, I'm not psychic, and I'm not really saying that I've predicted everything, but they've been pretty easy to read so far, so they stand to reason that me and what I'm thinking wouldn't be too far-fetched.
Personally, there's only one problem with your theory, though.
What's that?
We're not bringing in the handheld market. The Game Boy, the Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Advance SP, and the Game Boy Mini, as well as
The Micro,
Mini Micro.
for one. For two, handheld and home console are two different things. The speculation that the new system is going to be part, mobile and part handheld, and then part, home docking system, is all speculation at this point. Why I would pull anything from thin air to think that that's what they're going to be working with is beyond me. I'm not going to go ahead and stretch it that far. Well, what I'm already focused on is already stretched in itself. To think 40 years of development for home console units, to think the fourth president is now passed and they have something to do in his memory and have the ability to do it this time, to think that 4 years and 4 months later a system's going to be brought into fruition in a fourth set of gaming console unit. I can't sit here and think about all of the handhelds too. The reason why I'm leaving them out is because they're not a home console.
film.